And that'll do it for the team competition in the South. Back inside the CrossFit Update studios, Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood will have the official announcement of the team qualifiers in a second. But when you look at this competition overall through 9 events, the best teams in the South really did a good job of separating themselves early and then hanging on.
Yeah, you had teams like hashtag Team Density and then Rockwell CrossFit that basically separated themselves as the front runners from the get-go, being one in the top 2 spots from wire to wire pretty much after day one.
Mm-hmm. And you never know what's going to happen. You know, a team could mess up a handstand walk or a legless rope climb, but if you don't get a lead early, going into, that's why we call day 2 moving day, going into day 3, having to make up a ton of ground, it can be done, but man, the odds are stacked against you.
More on the South teams in just a second. Again, we'll get you out to the venue for the official announcement of the 5 teams that are going to the CrossFit Games. But we told you earlier in the day that we wanted to give you a bigger recap of what exactly happened in the Pacific Regional last night, specifically in the men's competition. Going into event 7, this is where things stood on the leaderboard. Rob Forte and Mitchell Cinnamon looked pretty solid. James Newberry and Ricky Garrard were pretty good as well, but they still had a little bit of work to do to ensure their spots to the games. And then Zeke Grove held on to that final spot. He was just 3 points up on Con Porter, who was trying to get himself back to the CrossFit Games for the second time. The women finished up event 7 and they stuck around to cheer on the men, and the atmosphere at the Wynn Sports and Entertainment Center for this event was electric. Con Porter was getting himself fired up before the event, knew he had to put on a special performance to get himself into the CrossFit Games. And early on it was a battle between Zeke Grove and Con Porter. Grove went out at a frantic pace. Porter stayed with him. Grove got a no rep on a rope climb. That allowed Porter to take the lead, and Con Porter closed it out in style.
Can Zeke reel him in?
Oh, look at this last rope climb.
Needs one rope climb. Con Porter's done.
Wow.
Con Porter, you legend. Take it back to the games.
And it's an event record.
Event record as well.
100 points.
Jeremy Austin and Lily Cosgrove on the call. Porter sets the early mark to beat in the world. Zeke Grove would come across the finish line after him. Mitchell Cinnamon flirted with disaster, but did just enough to keep himself in the top 5. But Con Porter electrified the crowd in Australia, and he's going back to the CrossFit Games. Here are the results for event 7 last night at the Pacific Regional. It's Porter with the win. Tom Langill will finish 2nd. Grove was 3rd. Newberry did enough to keep himself in the top 5. Unfortunately, Ricky Garrard did not. The 6th place finish wasn't enough for him. But Con Porter knew he had to put on the fight of his life to get himself into the CrossFit Games. Kids, earmuffs.
This is, without a doubt, the best feeling I've ever had in my life. I've never been in a position where I've had to fight for that last spot. It was 3 points out. I think the win gives me 5. Still waiting on the official results, but if that's got me across the line, fuck me.
Come back here.
If that's got me across the line, I've got first shout at the brewery.
And Con Porter probably racked up quite the bar tab last night. Here are his split times in what was just a scorching pace. He took 36 seconds to get through the 21 thrusters and then just stomped the gas after that, a total time of 2 minutes 27 seconds. I stayed up to watch that thing. I'm glad I did. I sacrificed a little bit of sleep for it, but Con Porter certainly saved the best for last.
This is exactly what was the intention. When you design a finale that's going to close out regionals, bring the excitement, and then on top of that, you have somebody, you couldn't ask for that, battling to try to get back into the top 5. I mean, Con delivered on every level.
Yeah. He lit the fuse unlike I think I've ever seen him light. He showed a fire that just was on another level for him, and especially when you're back against the wall and you have to try and get back to the games for an athlete like Con Porter just to unleash in that. What better finish could you ask
And
for?
this is the 2nd year in a row we've seen this. Remember, Ben Garrard last year in the final event set an event record to get himself into the CrossFit Games.
Pacific
So
Regional,
you
man.
want to always watch the final day at the Pacific Regional. Here are the qualifiers from the Pacific Regional who will be heading to Carson, California for the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. On the men's side, it's Rob Forte. He's going for his 6th time. James Newberry is going for his 1st. Porter coming back for the 2nd time. And then Zeke Grove and Mitchell Cinnamon are going for the first time as well. Who out of that group really impressed you the most?
Well, it's time for us to learn about some new people, and one of them, James Newberry. Congratulations. Look forward to shaking your hand out there in Carson. To finish the weekend in second place, the only person who beat you was Rob Forte, and by less than 20 points, he's out of CrossFit mode. James has been to regionals 4 times previously, has hung in there, worked in the weaknesses, and now, if you look at his event placements over the course of the entire 3 days, kid is solid, start to finish.
I've got 2 athletes. One athlete in Zeke Grove who had a kind of a rough day too, but you know what? He gathered himself. He bounced back strong in day number 3. He started event 6 with an 8th place finish. Then we saw that fantastic performance at the end. Even though he got a no rep, he finished with a 3rd place overall, and in that workout it was enough to get him to the games. You follow that up with another new athlete going to the games, Mitchell Cinnamon. He's a guy who was pretty much consistent across the board. He had a top 5 finish every day of competition, and that bought him enough leeway to kind of have a bad event in that last one with the 15th, and it still was enough, just by 2 points, but it still got him to Carson.
We'll turn our attention to the women's side of the competition in the Pacific Regional in just a second, but we want to take you back out to Dallas, Texas and the South Regional for the official announcement of the 5 qualifying teams from that region. We'll turn our attention to the women's side of the competition in the Pacific Regional in just a second, but we want to take you back out to Dallas, Texas and the South Regional for the official announcement of the 5 qualifying teams from that region.
Welcome back to the Dallas Convention Center in Dallas, Texas. I'm Jeff Breivold alongside Chase Ingram. We have now completed team competition in the 2016 CrossFit Games South region. The top 5 teams coming into event 9 had a somewhat comfortable cushion. 3 had already clinched. They did what they needed to do, but still some interesting performances there as CrossFit Omnia, who came in as a 22 seed, Chase. They are going to the Reebok CrossFit Games, hashtag Team Density. Unofficially, they are the regional champions.
They are, and Team Density, what more can you say about just the consistency of the weekend for that team? It was one of the teams I was looking for to see. They had the ability to do well, especially with the weights of this weekend and the difficulty of the workout. So no surprise to see, well, a little bit of a surprise to see Team Density do so well. But like you said, Omnia, 22nd, getting up into the top 5. Kind of goes to show you is that those regional seedings don't mean much until you get on the competition floor, because we've seen a flip-flop. Some teams in the top 5 were out of the top 20. So Omnia, rookie team to regionals.
Let's head down to Nick Zielinski.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are in Dallas, Texas. South Regional, our top 5 teams qualifying for the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. In 5th place, going to the CrossFit Games, Backcountry Black. In 4th place, going to the CrossFit Games, Pillar CrossFit. In 3rd, going to the CrossFit Games, CrossFit Omnia. In 2nd place, Rockwell CrossFit. And in 1st place, your number 1 team in the South Regional. Dominant performance all weekend long from CrossFit Overtake, Team Density. Ladies and gentlemen, celebrate with your teams their trip to the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games.
Happy celebration here as the top 5 are announced. Backcountry, Pillar, Omnia, Rockwell, and your regional champion, hashtag Team Density.
Just a great performance overall for all these teams. They were the most consistent across the weekend. Not really like getting first in every event, not dropping out of the top 10 either. You saw those top 5s to top 6 10s all weekend long for some of these teams to handle the pressure like they did, specifically for CrossFit Omnia, getting a 3rd place finish. That's a fantastic performance for CrossFit Omnia and all 5 teams who qualified this weekend.
And again, 3 teams outside of the top 10 are going to the Reebok CrossFit Games. That's going to do it For Chase Ingram, I'm Jeff Brightwood. We're going to head back to the CrossFit Update Desk. That's it for the team competition in the South Regional.
Congratulations to the 5 teams that are going to represent the South Regional at the CrossFit Games in July. Let's get back now to what happened again last night in the Pacific Regional. We turn our attention to the women's competition, and this is where things ended up. Cara Webb was dominant the entire weekend. Tia Toomey answered a lot of questions. She finished second. She's going back to the games again, as is Alethea Boone, Justine Beath, and 19-year-old Madeline Sturt making her first appearance at the CrossFit Games. Cara Webb, though, crushed this weekend, and I don't know why I'm even shocked by that, because we should be expecting this now. This is what she does at regionals.
She excelled at everything, start to finish. I mean, she's heading to the games for the 5th time, and just watching her perform, now you can see, if you're new to the sport, why a lot of people are saying this is someone that if she shows up healthy to the games, we could see her standing on the podium, potentially winning the whole thing.
It's almost deja vu, because we talked about her dominating last year, and she had one of the highest point totals we had seen. And you know what? She did even better. She beat her point total from last year. She just destroyed the total points, event wins, average place, you name it, across the board. She was phenomenal.
Yes, 665 total points out of 700 possible. She won 4 events. That only happened once last year, and it was Jonakoski who won 4 events. He was the only person to do it, so it's not like that is an easy feat to accomplish. What about Tia Toomey? We had some questions about her coming in. Is she legit? Can she do what she did last year? And we don't ever need to ask that again.
No, 100% completely good to go in my book. I'm always skeptical. Somebody has a great rookie year. That's obviously fantastic, but it doesn't hold a tremendous amount of water with me. But boom, watching her over the weekend, she was second overall to Cara Webb. But what's most impressive is you look at the times that Cara finished in and then the times that Tia did, there's not that much separation. So she's right there behind one of the best women in our sport. Completely see why she was on the podium.
Well, there's 2 rookies that are going to the games this year from Australia that I was extremely impressed with, starting with Justine Beath. She had just consistency across the board. She had a 10th to start and then 5 straight top 5s, only 1 event outside of the top 10. That was event 7 and 11. That's just consistency across everything that we've seen. Most athletes in the top 5 had a worse finish than her across the weekend. Then you add another athlete in there like Madeline Sturt. We could be seeing the next young athlete, rising star, coming from this Pacific region. Only 19 years old. She had 1 major hiccup, a 36th in event 1. After that, 5 of the next 6 inside the top 10. And you know what? She's going to be the next teenager everyone's talking about as the kind of the hot to trot rookie at the games.
It is scary, the talent that is coming up, and she is certainly just the tip of that spear. Here are your qualifiers from the women's side of the competition at the Pacific Regional. Cara Webb once again wins that regional with 665 total points. Tia Toomey going back for the 2nd straight year. The only way she can improve on last year is if she wins everything. Alethea Boone is going back for the 2nd straight year as well, and then Beath and Sturt are the 2 women who are making their first trips to the CrossFit Games.
I was incredibly impressed with Alethea Boone. The only potential question I had in my head was, as one of the smaller athletes, how could she handle the heavy loading? That monster deadlift came up with the running in GHD. She took 8th on that. We saw what she did on regional Nate, so she, from start to finish, I mean, she's ready for 2016.
She already had some impressive performances at the games, and particularly with Murph. I think just another year added to that. We might see her possibly crack into the top 15, maybe top 10.
Yeah, there's a new generation of dominant women coming out of that Pacific Regional. Team qualifiers, 5 of them heading across the sea to come and compete at the CrossFit Games. Zach's Pack East Tamaki, 820 points, the only team to cross the 800-point barrier. Schwartz's CrossFit Melbourne, they're coming back, as is CrossFit Athletic. 2 teams that have not been there, we'll welcome them for the first time in Southern California, CrossFit Torian and CrossFit Loaded. But Tamaki, they finished 37th last year at the Games, but they look like they're hungry this year.
I mean, yeah, disappointing at the Games last year, but the most important thing is just to make it back. They did that so they can build upon that momentum. But our sport, it rewards consistency, and so I have to say, hats off to CrossFit Athletic. They're making it back to the Games for the 4th time. I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's a great affiliate.
Hats off to Torian and CrossFit Loaded that hang on to those last two spots there in a battle with Injustice Crew and Functional Strength CrossFit.
All right, that's the Pacific Regional. The women are up next in the South. Let's get you ready for that. And this is an extremely close race as we head into the final two events. Camille Blanc-Bazinet pretty much has first place locked up. There's going to have to be a total disaster for her to fall out of there. But the women behind her are fighting for a spot. Alexis Johnson currently sits in second. North and Janowicz are only 6 and 32 points back from second place. So still quite a few women who are in contention. Two events today. Who do you think they favor?
I don't know if it, they're not going to win, okay? I think Candice Wagner pops into my head. I don't see her winning the events here, but I don't think there's anything on day 3 that's going to trip her up. I think she's a capable athlete. She's a 2-time Games veteran. She's proven over the last 2 days of competition she has what it takes after taking last year off. And I think we're going to see her once again at 31 years old make it back for a 3rd trip to the Games.
Whitney Capelucci is inside the top 5, and consistency is what's going to win out on day number 3. You have a long chipper, then you have a thruster rope climb couplet. Well, you know what? Whitney took 5th in the thruster rope climb Tommy V last year, and then 4th in the long chipper that immediately followed it. So some sort of relevance in those two workouts and how well she performed across the board. So I think that favors her going into these final events, and I think she's going to hold on.
We'll get you back out to competition in one moment, but first, it's never too early to start talking about next week. 2 more regional competitions starting next Friday here in North America. We have the Atlantic and the West. Defending Fittest Man on Earth, Ben Smith will be in action, and Emily Abbott looking to continue her climb up the Games leaderboard and get herself back to Carson in the West Regional. The women are up next. The final 2 events on tap for them. Let's get you back out to Dallas, Texas in the South Regional. Jeff Brightwell and Chase Ingram.